to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, Adam here, and this is a relationship-based hypnosis session designed to help you end people-pleasing. And some people find themselves in a relationship where they put the needs of their partner way above their own needs. And that's fine if it's about the same level, but if it's a relationship where it's great for them and not great for you, that's probably not a wonderful relationship to stay in. And this isn't a hypnosis session to encourage you to end a relationship. It's a hypnosis session to encourage you to have the kind of boundaries that make you have a relationship that you want to stay in. And it uses a metaphor of a river to represent two different timelines. And only the status quo is off the table. And status quo just means as things are, to continue in the current level. Because I was working with a client that because of their upbringing, their different cultural background, they saw a father that was more than happy to put his own needs first, but his wife and the mother of the client was always kind of playing second fiddle. So they had that background, and at some level that became a role model, a pattern that they followed. They just knew that they didn't want that. So it led to a lot of neediness and people pleasing and compromising on standards, going out of their way for their partner, but not even tolerating the breadcrumbs for themselves. So the two timelines represent one of two futures, either a future where there is healthy boundaries, a lot of mutual respect, a lot of love and connection that is conducive to a great relationship, or they see themselves with those qualities of confidence and an element of high standards and personal validation without even needing a relationship. It's just this kind of accepting the breadcrumbs in a relationship that is off the table. So if you can relate or resonate to that idea, if you feel that it's uneven in terms of the relationship dynamics, you might get some value from this hypnosis session, but please be aware it was entirely calibrated to the client that I was working with. Therefore, some of their issues might not be your issues. Some of their relationship dynamics might not be your relationship dynamics. So just hone into anything that feels useful. And the key essence of this is having mutual respect to stop people pleasing. And that doesn't mean ultimatums and rudeness with your partner, but just shifting the energy dynamic so that it's a win for both parties rather than a win-lose situation. So if you can connect to that, you'll get some value. And if you do want something entirely calibrated and customized bespoke for you, there will be a link in the description, or you can visit my website, adamcox.co.uk. You can book a free consultation call with me. It's completely free, about half an hour, we'll have a chat, and who knows, we may end up working together. For now though, find a quiet, comfortable place, the kind of place where you're not going to get distracted or intruded upon. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that feeling of calm relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a sense of release, as if tension, stress, or worries are leaving your body in that outward breath. And on the next inward breath, aim to breathe in deeper and slower activating that diaphragm, but breathing in a feeling of resourcefulness and self-belief. And as you exhale, really feel a release of any insecurities. That's it. Just allow them to leave your body, almost like shadows leaving your outward breath. Breathing in resourcefulness and exhaling any doubts and limitations. That's it. Eyelids feeling heavier, jaw feeling looser. Give yourself permission in this time to really relax, to let go. Nowhere to be, nothing to do. Just allowing old beliefs that no longer serve you to dislodge, to refine and update. That's it. Beliefs naturally change. There may have been a time that you believed in tooth fairies, and that excitement was real, even if the belief wasn't. And I wonder what real emotions you feel now, based on beliefs that aren't even true. But the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine that your physical body stays where it is, but your imagination is going on a run. I want you to think of a river on a sunny day with blue skies. I want you to imagine what it would feel like to be filled with energy, vitality, and running by the river. Maybe you're seeing the sun reflect on the surface of the river. Maybe you find that pace, that rhythm, and allow the rhythm of the run to start synchronizing with the rhythm of your heartbeat and the rhythm of your breath. And I know sometimes you've been running, and the running seems to happen all by itself, and you can get lost in your imagination because your body knows how to run. So allow yourself to get back to that state where you don't even need to think about running, and your mind can take you on a wonderful journey of change. For a while now, you've given yourself a role with what you should do, must do, or expected to do, based on narratives, observations, childhood experiences. But what if you're running a script that isn't yours? I want you to get a feeling that if knowing what you now know, you wouldn't accept things as they are, then it means Now is the time to make new evaluations, build new boundaries, and communicate needs that you need, but maybe other people don't know that you need them. As you find that rhythm in the run, notice your breathing gets even deeper. I want you to imagine getting lost in your imagination there by the river. And I want you to find a bench by the river and sit down. And I want you to imagine seeing perhaps ducks or swans or different animals that seem to be in couples there on the water. And as you stare at the animals, I want you to imagine that your unconscious reveals a part of your life where it feels that you've been giving more than you receive. Perhaps a part where you place your partner's needs above your own. The part where anxiety fills the gaps and they're not around. Sends your mind on a journey of what if. And with a gentle curiosity, I want you to imagine seeing that dynamic in two swans. One swan being generous, and the other swan being accepting of that generosity, but not necessarily reciprocating in the same way. And as you start to see the exact dynamic in your relationship, in those two swans, I want you to feel that detached level of observation through the lens of curiosity. And I want you to get a feeling that as you see that pattern, it dawns on you, this is not a flaw in you, not a weakness, just a strategy learned a long time ago. And maybe it was a strategy born from love, but perhaps also from fear. A powerful fear is the fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. And maybe that swan is asking, who am I without them? But as you look at that old pattern, I want you to communicate with it. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need this kind of protection anymore. And the pattern begins to dissolve, unraveling strand by strand, like a knot gently loosening until there is no pressure left. Keep observing the swans as it seems like a new dynamic is establishing. And then imagine a hologram over the river that seems to show the relationship of your parents, like an echo of the past, not in detail and not emotionally charged, but just a representation. And you recognize that you learn some things from them that no longer align with who you are and what you value. And maybe old beliefs about love, old assumptions about connection, perhaps even old fears disguised as loyalty. Imagine gathering all of those beliefs from the hologram of the past, and just imagine seeing them dissipate to tiny molecules, grains of sand that just fall into the water and get washed away by the current, because those ideas have served their time and maybe they weren't useful in the way you want them to be now. Imagine they're completely diluted and dissolved into the water, and feel a sense of release. You don't need to live their story or even a reaction to it. You are free to write your own. I wonder if you can imagine the space around you expanding. Any feelings of contraction or limitation is now morphing into a sense of freedom, breathing room, mental space. And what if the anxiety that used to fill this space begins to evaporate, revealing a deeper truth? If your partner is not around, that is not a threat. Your worth is not diminished by distance, and your value exists whether they are near or far, with no need to chase reassurance, and no need to lose yourself in worries and what ifs. No need to build meaning out of silence or gaps. Just connect with a sense of expansion and freedom and full acceptance. You can accept that things are the way they are, and also accept that certain things no longer meet your needs. And your mind becomes peaceful. Your chest becomes lighter, and your emotional world becomes your own again. I want you to imagine standing up and looking down into the river and seeing a reflection. And as you stare at yourself, see a new level of empowerment, confidence. See a version of you that is immune to the fear of loss. Sometimes people hold on to things that they want it to be, even if it hasn't been that way. Rather than fearing a loss, I want you to make a confident affirmation as you look at yourself in that reflection. If it isn't as I want it, then I don't want it. And how can you fear losing something you don't want? And then it becomes the goal to make it as you would want it. And want you to stare at the swans and see that something's different. That dynamic of imbalance now seems different. A dynamic of mutual respect, consideration, reciprocity. And as you stare at the swans, I want you to feel that that is what you deserve. And I want you to get a feeling that boundaries aren't there to control. Boundaries are there to protect and respect. You respect the boundaries of your partner, and they respect yours. And by respecting the boundaries, you lay the foundation where more needs and wants can be met. I want you to imagine sitting back down on the bench, looking at the river going in two different directions. The river now represents two different futures. To the left, I want you to imagine a future where, just like the swans, your relationship shows you living with clear boundaries, articulating your wants and needs, with a new dynamic, a new lease of life, the kind of relationship that you would want to stay in forever. And if your unconscious feels that you deserve and desire that future, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then look in the other direction of the river, also showing a desirable future, a confident version of you, a confident version of you that was willing to walk away from a relationship that wasn't able to meet their needs. You're not sad, you're empowered, confident, with absolute clarity as to what it is you're willing to accept and not accept. And I want you to get a feeling that both futures are desirable. There's almost a part of you that doesn't mind which of those becomes real. The only thing you're not willing to accept is the crumbs. A relationship of feeling second best, feeling like an afterthought. If your unconscious feels empowered to no longer accept that which is below your needs, and to only accept a future of value, love, consideration, and respect, in whichever form that it finds its way to you. Nod your head and allow all of those changes to ripple down from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. That's it. And I want you to imagine that to change the status quo to something else requires conversations. Questions about the needs of someone else that facilitates that reciprocity to communicate your own needs. Feeling confident to explore hypothetical scenarios that that establishes new boundaries based on agreement. But the ace up your sleeve is that you can want something without needing it to happen. You can't force someone to change. But you can allow yourself to change. Change your standards, your beliefs, and those things that you will or will not tolerate. I want you to imagine leaving the bench and jogging back in that same direction that you came from. Feeling lighter, confident, more empowered. Like you're at the start of a brand new chapter in the story of your life. And you're excited to see how it develops. Allow yourself to start to float back to the present, the here and the now. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling empowered, confident, with a new sense of clarity, leaving those old beliefs and limitations there as grains of sand in the river. Starting to count 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.